Welcome back everyone. In this video, I'm going to show you how to smoke beef ribs hot and fast. Alright, so whatever barbecue you're using, set it up for some indirect cooking. We're going to be using our Oklahoma Joe's Bronco drum. We'll start by removing our cooking grate, then we'll take out our heat deflector. Then we'll fill our charcoal basket up with either lump charcoal or briquettes. Then we'll bury a couple of firelighters in there and light them up. Alright, so we've got about 10 to 15 minutes before that charcoal is going to be ready, so we'll use that time to prepare these beef ribs. Alright, so I'd normally start by taking that bottom membrane off and any fat underneath, but because we're cooking these hot and fast, I want that extra layer just to help protect the meat. So for this cook, we're going to leave that on, and we're just going to trim any excess fat and silver skin from the top. So I usually like to just start in one corner, get underneath that silver skin. You want to take your time because you don't want to be taking any more meat off than what you have to. And then as you can see, I've got hold of the silver skin here. I'm pulling that back away from the knife, and my knife isn't having to work very hard, which really reduces my risk of slipping and cutting myself. And when I'm looking for a rack of beef ribs, this is exactly what I'm looking for. You can see all of that beautiful marbling within the meat. They're nice and thick. These are the Cape Grim brand from Austral Meat. I've been really happy with these ones lately, so now they're all trimmed up, we can get them seasoned. So if you've got a favourite beef rub, go ahead and use that. We're going to be giving this a base coat of our garlic goals, then we're going to top it off with a new beef rub I'm working on. And to stick with the hot and fast theme, I'm going to be using some sriracha hot sauce as a binder for our rubs. So we'll go ahead, give our beef ribs a nice generous coat in this sriracha hot sauce, then we'll top it off with our rubs. Alright, so it's been about 15 minutes. That charcoal's caught light nicely, burning nice and hot. So what we can do now is we'll shut our lid and we'll open up both of our vents completely. So for this cook, I want to be up around the 230 Celsius or 450 Fahrenheit mark. So once we get just below that temperature, I'm going to start shutting down that intake vent. Then we'll get our beef ribs on and look to stabilise this barbecue off. So while our barbecue's coming up to temperature, I've just got two beautiful little cherry chunks from Natural Smoke ready. If you've got another favourite smoking wood for beef, feel free to use that. But for now, we'll be back once these beef ribs are ready to go on. Alright, so we're up around that temperature we want it to be at. You can feel how hot that fire is already. I'm going to get a piece of smoking wood straight on where the fire's burning. Another one just off. Then we'll get our heat deflector in, then our cooking grate, and then our beautiful beef ribs. And now we'll shut our lid and let these beef ribs smoke away. Right, as you can see, we're sitting right on that temperature range. And as you can see, we've got our intake vent wide open still, and that might even stay that way because we've been sitting around our target temperature, nice and stable for the last 5 to 10 minutes. So normally a rack of beef ribs that size, smoking at about the 250 Fahrenheit or 120 Celsius range, would normally take me about 8 to 10 hours, maybe a little bit longer. That's without wrapping them. We're gonna wrap these once I'm happy with that bark. Because we're running so hot and fast, I reckon we'll be ready to wrap these after about an hour and a half. And I reckon we're going to be able to get these done in under 4 hours. So for now, we're just going to let these smoke away and we'll check back in throughout this cook. Alright, so we're an hour and 45 in and they are looking incredible actually. Got some nice drawback on the bones. We'll have a quick check of our internals and I don't reckon we'll be far off wrapping. In fact, we might even wrap these up now. So we're at about that 160-ish to 170 Fahrenheit, or just over 70 degrees Celsius. I've got some butcher's paper ready, so let's get these out. Alright, so we'll wrap these up nice and tight and get them back in the smoker. And I'll also chuck a meat probe in there at this stage too. Then we'll shut this lid and let them keep going. Alright, so those beef ribs are going to go back into our smoker until we're ready to check for probe tenderness. And I'm going to start to do that at around the 200 Fahrenheit or 93 degrees Celsius internal mark. The way these are going, I wouldn't be surprised if we get there in around an hour's time. So we might even get these beef ribs done in 3 hours. I'll be very keen to see how these beef ribs come out in terms of taste, texture and tenderness. But for now, we'll let these keep going and we'll check back in soon. Alright, it's been just over an hour. We've hit our target internal. That puts us to around the 3 hour mark into this cook. Let's have a probe around and see how they're feeling. It's a little bit of resistance, but it's coming along nicely. I reckon half an hour more and they'll be done. So we'll shut this lid and check back in soon. Alright, so it's been half an hour. That puts us just about 3.5 hours into this cook. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that probe out. I'm going to put these beef ribs in a tray. We're going to unwrap them and have a proper probe around. Alright, so they're probing nice. I'm going to get them out. We'll put them down on our cutting board and I'll let them steam off for 5 minutes just to stop the cooking process. Alright, so it's been 5 minutes. We did lose a little bit of bark on our beef ribs when we wrapped them because we didn't really let that bark set 100% during the first part of the cook. But we'll take that on board for next time we do a hot and fast cook if we do one, and we might just let them go the whole way through unwrapped. But for now, we're going to wrap these back up in the butcher's paper and rest them in our esky. So pop them in there like so. Chuck an old towel in there for some insulation. Then we'll close it up and I'm going to let these rest for about 4 hours before we come back to slice and serve them. Alright, so our beef ribs have been resting for close to 4 hours now, so let's get them out, slice them up and have a taste. They actually look really good. The only thing I'm not 100% happy with at the moment is the bark. I'm sure they're still going to taste great, so let's keep slicing and then we'll have a taste. Well, they're certainly juicy. Time for a taste. That is still nice and tender, full of flavour. Now the bark could definitely be better on them. I do love that awesome epic bark you get when you don't wrap your beef ribs and you smoke them for them 8 to 10 hours. But honestly, these came out a lot better than expected. They are tender, juicy, full of flavour. They're not the best beef ribs I've ever had. Are they enjoyable? Absolutely. I'd be more than happy to serve these up if I had guests over. So it's just another option to consider if you're running short on time. You can produce great results with a hot and fast cook. So if you've got any questions, don't hesitate to ask them in the comments below. That's the end of the video, so thanks for watching and we'll see you next time.